Are you a conscious leader or a visionary or a thought leader in this world? And would you like to create some of your own content in collaboration with us? If so, please head over to theatlasofconsciousness.com to check out more of our video and production content. We would love to work with you to get more of these new Earth messages out into the world. Thank you once again for listening. And now, on to the episode.
And they look at you and you're like, holy shit, you remind me of me. And they're like, yeah, I feel the same way about you. And then your inner circle or whatever ends up just being a representation of your own internal manifestation and transformation. And if that's happening within our own circles, then that's going to then have an effect on our greater communities and our greater societies. So that is how the dissolution of barriers comes into effect. That's how we become more interconnected globally. It's the small things. It all starts with the person in the supermarket aisle, and then it has a domino effect out into the global world.
This is the Atlas Emotion Series, where we share edge of the earth ideas for a new world. Hello and welcome to another Atlas Emotion Series podcast. My name is Ella, and today's episode will be called A New Language of Communication. And amazingly, we're going live for the first time. So sharing this with an audience. I'm here with my friend Igor, who's from the Human Connection movement. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Do you want to share with us how are you going at the moment amidst all of this, and a little bit about the Human Connection movement?
How am I going? I am definitely going up and down. I woke up feeling rather like a bit disconnected this morning, so I just made myself a juice and meditated, did a little bit of Joe Dispenza. For those that are aware, tuning into new potentials. It's an amazing meditation. And then I went straight to the beach and just meditated a little bit more. I went for a walk and just reconnected. So now I feel a lot better. But just before that, I wasn't doing too well. But now I'm doing great, especially now that I'm here with you.
Oh, that is just so sweet. Thank you. And tell us a little bit about the Human Connection movement.
Well, that is a loaded question. There's a lot involved.
Give me a two-liner. Give me a Twitter version of.
We dissolve barriers between people to connect them and unite them within their hearts. And the reason why we do that is because we're going through a period of disconnection from ourselves and our environment. So there's less openness and vulnerability, and the movement represents a bridge to coming home back to ourselves, and not just individually, but as a society. So we basically cater and run workshops, events, and programs that engage people on a heart level to incite more transparency, vulnerability, love, connection, and connect them back to themselves.
And it's through traditionally eye gazing, yes?
Yeah. So eye gazing is one of the underlying core practices that we utilize within the method, and the method we use is the Human Connection method. So it's a combination of movement, dance, and eye contact. Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting, right, that we're having this conversation amidst our times. We're obviously separated right now because of everything that's going on in the world right now with the coronavirus. And fascinatingly and sort of paradoxically, I felt so drawn to having this podcast with you right now, because I felt like what we're actually talking about and what your movement allows people to connect with and contact is a much deeper layer of communication than is potentially physically available, or that, we seem to be experiencing on our daily lives or in our daily lives, I've actually found from insights coming in that this time really is a space where we can get in touch with that deeper layer, that deeper frequency that connects us all. How does your method connect people to this unifying layer, this one love, for another phrase?
I love that question, and it's something that is quite ineffable sometimes to describe. But the way that it happens is it's something that you do experience viscerally. You do experience that visceral interconnectedness and flow when you're engaging in eye contact with someone for a prolonged period of time. And it's been scientifically proven to create brain coherence and heart coherence. So what that means is, the actual waves, the frequencies that come through from our hearts begin to synchronize, and they oscillate at a frequency that is in harmony. And then that has a really positive biological effect on our bodies, the same way compassion or forgiveness or love and joy would. And that creates more coherence within ourselves and affects our moods and the way our moods are regulated. So when you're the same way an infant would connect with, their mother growing up, when they just come out, they need eye contact. They need to feel safe. And this is the method is designed to allow for people to experience something that allows them to feel safe and be seen and let go of anything that doesn't belong to them, but also in a really fun and playful way, so that they can engage and connect really authentically. So when you're looking into someone's eyes, everyone's a mirror, okay? So when I'm looking into your eyes and I'm engaging in eye contact, I then see anything within myself projected back at me. And that's an incredible opportunity for me to be able to observe whatever arises objectively and let it go if it doesn't serve me. And if it's a pleasant experience, then I also observe that objectively, because the aim of it is to achieve coherence and just amplify that coherence. And in the amplification of the coherence, it really connects you to your heart, and your heart's connected to your intuition. So your intuition then amplifies, and your whole body becomes a beacon for insight, awareness, and love, and your container of capacity to give and receive love actually increases. So we're really redefining what it means to be human in this experience. People that are struggling with intimacy, that might have intimacy blocks within their relationships, within themselves, due to childhood trauma or any other experience. God knows we all have something, that has happened or occurred for our betterment, to allow us to evolve. But it's also extremely difficult to sometimes look at and confront. So the reason why this work is so powerful and so needed in this time right now is because we're creating that safe space for people to engage through eye contact, achieve the biological benefits and physiological benefits of eye contact, but also experience it with other people, and in a way that's meaningful and authentic, so we can really take our power back and raise the quality of our connection and relationships.
So when we have been talking a lot about this sense of communication and connection with self. And the title of the podcast came to me, A New Language of Communication. What does that phrase mean to you, and how does that relate to your method?
Well, what I think about straight away is language, quintessentially, like what we're doing right now. We're communicating through words, and I think words have a very powerful significance, and our world is run, based on what we speak, but it's also run based on what we don't speak. And a lot of what we communicate is actually non-verbal. And it's all about reading between the lines, I believe, in life. Understanding and interpreting data or data, like the Americans like to say it, interpreting data in the form of energy, and reading and understanding that. Because when it's like, if you're an actor, I'll give you an example. If you're an actor and you have a line and you're playing a character and you have an objective, if what your line and objective is incongruent with what your inner life is and what you're experiencing, people just won't believe you and you won't get so far in your career. But if you line what your inner life with the dialogue and the character you've created, then you then merge with something bigger than yourself, right? You're allowing for something to emerge and come through. And that's what communication actually represents to me. It's understanding that there's something much more significant out there that we can tap into and explore, that would give us a much better understanding of our interconnectedness to our global society.
It's really beautiful, actually. There were some really key phrases in there that I really felt that. I had a really interesting question come to me, and it's about the nature of communication through fear or the communication through love. And, for me personally, finding it very fascinating that I'm drawn to talking to you about this right now, when I feel like I can feel the power of communication, whether that is communication from a lack of awareness, or a communication from an awareness or a conscious space. Can you, I think particularly now with what we're facing with the coronavirus, I recognize when I go down to the supermarket, it's not even, needing to be that obvious, you can feel how palpably people are affected. And I started to become really aware of how powerful communication is, how powerful the media is, how powerful every message that we send each other is. As little moments of love that we pass between each other, or potentially little moments of fear that we might potentially pass between each other. And ultimately, that's what's creating our world. It's whether we're passing those messages of love or passing those messages of fear, and what each of us as individuals are choosing. Given all this, what's your experience with messaging or communication throughout this time for yourself?
There's a reason why I'm passionate about it, and it's because I haven't been on the receiving end of being seen early on in my life, and being heard in that way, and my own personal frustration with that led me to want to enter this space that I am in now. And if you say, how did you start the movement? I didn't start it. It just started me. And it took me on a journey the same way the ocean, just the waves keep coming, and if you're on the board, you're surfing the waves, and then one wave crashes and the other wave comes. There's no ending. So my own frustration kind of led me to this point. Miscommunication can be a great thing. And a lot of what's happening in our society right now is actually, albeit people passing away and dying, and that's really, it's very, I'm very sad about that. But in the general kind of theme of what's going on, this is an incredible reset and an opportunity for everyone to go inside and reflect on what they're contributing to our society, and not just on the physical level, but on a quantum level, on a non-physical level, on a feelings, thoughts, and emotions level, on a what are the thoughts that we think about? What are we contributing to creating our world? And are we in alignment with our spirit and our most authentic self, with our heart? So I feel like all of the challenges that we experience, all of the miscommunication we experience, all of the tragedy, all of the mishaps and challenges and everything like that has been perfectly orchestrated and designed, not just individually, but for our society to raise its awareness and levels of consciousness, so we can start bridging and moving into what this new earth actually represents, which is a very different frequency to fear and judgment and blame. But we need to experience those levels of emotions and awareness to be able to download the information on that data, so we no longer need to keep recreating those experiences. So to finish that question off, I think it's a blessing to be taken through this journey in all the contrasting ways in which our life represents all of this.
I think what the idea of what's happening right now is sort of bringing up in me as well is the importance of gifts of love and messages of love, whether that's those daily prayers that we make to ourselves, or the gifts of consistently putting out that communication that is loving, and from that really deeply loving place, once we've accessed that within ourselves and passed that on. I had a question. I was going to ask, how does your method allow us to tap into that deep place so we can then pass on that new message, that new world message, essentially?
Well, when you're connecting with someone through eye contact, through the method, you then realize how powerful you are. You realize the love that you have within yourself. You realize the container that you hold, the capacity you hold as a human being to give and receive love. And it's a very quick process where you recognize that, because anything that doesn't align and serve your true inherent essence just comes up for you to see and then let go of, which is why vulnerability is really important, and sensitivity. The two key areas that we work with, because the more vulnerable and open and sensitive we are, the more we can see what doesn't serve us. And then we can let go of that, which then creates more space for us to amplify the love that emerges through the process of connecting with someone non-verbally through our method. And then we become a beacon of that naturally. So then when we move through our lives, people can feel it. You walk into a room, sometimes there's a distinct awareness or energy that someone carries or holds, and you don't know what it is. But it's like their cells are resonating with love. You can see that the way they hold themselves, the way they stand, and the way they interact with others, there's a distinctive difference. So our method really kind of just allows people to feel more liberated and at home within themselves, which then carries through into every other area in their life.
That was a really amazing answer. Thank you.
Pleasure.
And I guess what it really made me want to solidify to those listening is that this is the real communication. This is what we're talking about. It's not necessarily the words we speak, but the feelings that we emit and the way that we express ourselves and the place from within ourselves that we express ourselves. Given the current circumstances, how can people find that same connection if they can't physically be doing eye gazing? Are there other ways that people can access that within themselves or with each other?
Do you mean right now with this social distancing?
Yeah, right now with social distancing.
I think guided meditations are a great way to connect in groups at the moment, online on Zoom. And I think that's a beautiful way to be in community, because the distance we experience is the distance we create. I don't believe we're separate, even from a distance, because I can tune into, my family or friends, people that I have close, intimate relationships with, where I've re-engaged with them intimately through honesty and vulnerability and just the amplification of that heart coherence. And from a distance, I can tune into them and I can feel them. And this is not a unique trait. This is something that every single freaking person on this planet can do. So I feel that right now is a really important time to go within, find your own practice, whether it be yoga or guided meditations or your own meditation practice, or just lighting a candle and just sitting with yourself and breathing. Like, that's honestly so powerful, just to breathe, just to bring your hand to your heart and breathe for like 5 minutes and feel your heartbeat and come back to your body, because we spend so much time in our minds And right now there's a lot of monkey mind action going on, and it's very volatile and it's very fight or flight, and it can feel like it's the end of the world if you're staying in your head. And the key is, and it's not a secret, it's been out here for a very long period of time, is just to come back to your heart. And it's about coming back home to yourself. And sometimes people find that difficult because it requires slowing down and actually acknowledging what is actually transpiring and moving through us. But that is the only way we're going to be able to reclaim our sovereignty and come home to ourselves.
I actually, in receiving a few of these different messages to help guide me through what we're experiencing with the coronavirus, one of the things that I received was never to underestimate the power of the heart as a true medicine, the power of experiences. And I think what we're going through with the social distancing, with the world in lockdown, to me actually just highlights how much closer we can come to our heart, and basically in getting closer to our heart, we're able to become closer to our fellow humans. Ironically, by being further apart, we may be even closer together.
I love that. I love that. By being further apart, we may be coming closer together. I totally agree, and I think that's what this is actually happening. So this whole orchestration is in a way on a high level being designed that way. People are starting to slow down and connect to their heart. They've been forced to, and the earth's regenerating, and there's a really powerful energy behind that. And if you sit and linger with it for a little bit, you can feel its magic. So I totally agree.
And I think just on that thread of the messagings with ourselves, and because a lot of people are just facing anxiety at this time, I also want to say that, the other day I went down to the ocean and I meditated, and I had this very strong feeling from the ocean that these anxieties, these pains, this global experience is just trying to send us a message. And it is possible to have a look at that pain or that anxiety and see it as information, just here to teach you so you can move closer to your heart.
Everything is just a feedback process being relayed back to ourselves so that we can come into recognition of who we truly are, and come into our wholeness. Because a lot of the time we're responding from a fragment of who we truly are. And if we recognize the magnificence of our wholeness, of every part of us, even our shadow, even the parts of us we find uncomfortable. So if we understand the significance of that suffering and the lesson and the message that's being shared with us as a global society, then we'll understand that it's not here to tell us to, it's not here because we've been necessarily consciously naughty. We've been unconsciously naughty. And it's bringing that unconscious, any of the unconscious programs, thoughts and behaviors that are disrupting our own lives and bringing them to the surface so that we're able to connect more meaningfully with the earth, with each other, and within every capacity that we have to exchange.
These are just the unconscious programs coming up. And I don't even feel it's a naughtiness thing. I think the way I see it is that it's alignment. To me, it's misaligned beliefs and misaligned for all of us. Whatever we're each as individuals manifesting and experiencing in this global collective experience of the virus, it's really I've found so many of my own misalignments within that perhaps would not be the same at all as my families. But I think what connects us all is really that belief systems arising that don't serve us all. And, if the new world is coming through our bodies, first we have to face that old world that has lived within us this whole time.
When we're not in alignment, and we're not acting from a place of truth, then these elements and programs will be running us. And then when they do arise within this experience, it is an opportunity to observe them and and see whether they're still significant to our current identities. Because I feel like we're going through a really big identity purge, individually and globally. So everything we think that we are, and everything we thought everything we thought we were going to be, is just kind of up in the air right now. People are really reflecting on what really makes them happy. You know, is this job that I've been doing for the last 10 to 15 years that I've just been doing just to feed my family really kind of exciting me and bringing joy to my life, or am I just doing this for financial obligations? And which is a very respectful thing to do. Obviously, we have to do what we can, but it's also giving us an opportunity to go, wait a second, what am I actually really passionate about? I like painting. I like singing songs, writing songs, whatever hobby that you have, to explore and understand that you're more than your title at work. There's so much more significance to us, and we're so special in that way, each and every one of us. So it's given us an opportunity to explore ourselves.
I think for me, what I've faced that was sort of my big challenge was that physically, I actually think, so much of the world sees it this way, but physically, I really believe that, viruses and things like this have control over me or have power over me. I have recognized that in every single day, with the anxieties that rise and the uncertainties every time, the gift of meditation, the gift of healing, the gift of hearing those messages that the anxiety has to teach me has allowed me to feel closer and closer, yes, to my heart, but I think yes to my sense of power, that I really have choice here to, choose to move to a healthier place. Use the virus to become healthier in myself, ironically.
Choice, right? Choice. Every second we have a choice. And I like that word. It's something I was contemplating this morning. I could choose to wake up and play victim to how I feel this morning because I didn't feel great, I didn't sleep well. Or I could make an entirely different choice and go into meditation and just like have that like shower energetically and dissolve of everything, and go for a walk and nurture myself and take care of myself. And I think collectively we've gotten to this point where we can't keep recreating choices which are no longer serving us, unconscious choices. So that's kind of why I feel this is such an exciting period to be alive right now.
Yeah, it really feels like a space for, conscious leaders to be stepping up, for lack of a better phrase. It's really a space where we really just we have no choice but to look inward now.
I think it's a very exciting time. Like, this is the time I've been waiting for.
Me too.
For a very long time. Yeah, and we've been preparing for this. I mean, a lot of our conversations have really been as though this energy has been, it's never left. Like, it's always been around us. Society has just labeled it something now, We've been in preparation for this for a long time, whether we knew it or not. And what I specifically mean by that is just that the inner work and the responsibility and the impact that we all have, I think we were in recognition of that. Just standing in a supermarket aisle and waiting has an effect on the people around you if you're in your heart. If you're in your head and you're angry, that's going to affect the people around you. So in terms of significance of what we're contributing to the collective, every single person is just as important to each other. There's not one person that is more significant. So I think that the leaders are here right now to inspire others so that they can remember, they can come back into their remembrance. And once we start to feel and remember who we are moment to moment, the resonance in our cells, in our bodies, it starts to tingle. You get goosebumps. You start to go, wait a second. This is not who I am. This is who I am. It feels so alive. And then you start to magnify people that resonate with that frequency. If we want to talk about frequency, they resonate with that frequency. And they look at you and you're like, holy shit, you remind me of me. And they're like, yeah, I feel the same way about you. And then your inner circle or whatever ends up just being a representation of your own internal manifestation and transformation. And if that's happening within our own circles, then that's going to then have an effect on our greater communities and our greater societies. So that is how the dissolution of barriers comes into effect. That's how we become more interconnected globally. It's the small things. It all starts with the person in the supermarket aisle, and then it has a domino effect out into the global world.
That was really cool. I really love that. I was just gonna, contribute by saying, so yeah, that's the power of that deep inner communication, that deep inner connection and communication with our heart, that it ultimately ripples out, and it that's the language we're tapping into, that language of energy, and that space in the way that we ultimately has that huge effect on people we don't even realize. But the more and more we live from that space, the greater and greater the effect, and now more obvious than ever, I think.
You notice it. You notice if people are in their hearts or if they're not. And then right now it's a very important time to be taking responsibility for what you're emitting out into the world, not just for other people, but for yourself. I mean, you do it for yourself first, because you want to make sure you're taking care of yourself and you're healthy, because we create imbalance through our thoughts. And if we have unhealthy feeling habits, or if we're not communicating, then that affects our own internal physiology and health. So it's about self-care. It's so important right now, taking that awareness into ourselves and going, am I taking care of myself? Am I nurturing myself? How does my inner child feel like right now? Have I neglected my inner child for, because I have an attachment to something or someone else, and I've been neglecting myself? And then am I recreating experiences where, that are not pleasant because I'm not honoring my own personal needs? So it's about taking our awareness from the external and back into the internal.
So just to wrap up, how are you going to be what are you feeling drawn to in terms of giving those gifts of love or those communications of love in this time?
I think in the simplicity of just being here in each and every moment, and staying connected to my heart, that has a ripple effect, within our greater collective reality and quantum reality. I also think listening to people when they're talking is extremely important. Fully being present, fully receiving what they have to say. It's a very incredible medium to heal, when people feel received through being heard. And another, I guess, way is right now I'm holding free guided meditations, and we're thinking about a way to hold some eye gazing events on Zoom, breakout rooms and stuff like that. I think that everyone has a very significant responsibility and has a lot of power when it comes to changing and walking across that bridge into this new earth that we're all co-creating together. And it's about being in recognition of that and remembering that at the end of the day, all we're doing is walking each other home.
Man, you're full of great taglines. That was really good. I was also just going to contribute that sometimes I also, I think you encouraged me to eye gaze just into the mirror. So there's also that as a form of communication. And I've done that a few times.
Yeah, the mirror is interesting. People keep asking me about it. I think it's really important if you want to get honest with yourself and be like, am I playing a character or is this really me? Yeah, I think it's really powerful. It really kind of brings up stuff. And if you're there to kind of hold yourself in that experience, I think it's powerful. Yeah.
Well, I think that's all for today. Is there anything else you'd love to share?
I think that if you're listening to this right now, you are enough. There's nothing you need to add towards yourself. There are people out there that can't wait to meet you and love you and hold you and accept you and adore you. And that don't worry about searching for anything outside of yourself. Just bring all of your awareness into your own body and nurture your own kingdom, and plant that soil, and nurture the soil and make sure it's potent so that it can grow and plant those seeds inside of you. And I guarantee you everything will work itself out.
I think I needed to hear that. So thank you. Yeah, what were you going to say?
Yeah, no, I think that maybe that's why I said it.
Thank you. I was going to leave us with one last sentence, that we're all here to love. That's why we're here. So that is, whether that's loving yourself and every part of yourself that's coming up, feeling anxious at this point in time, or it's bringing that space to all those around you. Eventually that ripples out, but it's really about every tiny moment, just like what you said. So yeah, I want to say thank you for being on the show.
Thank you. I mean, I feel like I'm just sitting here with my sister and just like talking in my kitchen and stuff like that.
We're twin siblings from another life. And I will be posting, I'll post all the links in the show notes to Igor's work with the Human Connection Movement. And he will keep you posted right in this time as to new events, that potentially online events that you'll have coming up to help people connect with themselves.
Yeah, so I've started to work with couples through Zoom. So people that want to move through intimacy blocks and improve their communication. So they eye gaze through the camera, and then I can still tune in and guide them. So that's one thing I'm doing. And then we're figuring out the whole workshop space so we can get like 10 or 15 people in a group and then break them out and stuff like that. So yeah.
Cool. Thank you. And thank you everyone listening. I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. See you again.
Ciao, ciao.